the Christmas episode. I am Star Smiley, and with me today is Kathy Kerouac, our holiday expert. But before we hear what she has to say, since I am a singer-songwriter, today I was planning on doing a live performance of a Christmas song I wrote called Santa. However, my throat is not cooperating today, so I will do my best to have a live performance for you on my next podcast. Okay, back to our holiday expert. We all know Christmas is the birthday of Jesus, and Christians all over the world celebrate Jesus' birthday. Kathy, before we get started, how are you doing this fine December day?
Just wonderful.
Oh,
I'm anxious for Christmas to be here.
Oh, well, me too. Well, can you start by telling us about how Christmas came to be?
Sure. You know, it is the most wonderful time of the year. And for many, it is a day to honor the birth of Jesus Christ and also for us to reflect on our lives. Christmas didn't become a federal holiday in the United States until the 1870. As Europe celebrated, it was to celebrate the conclusion of the dark days of winter. In Rome, they had a feast to celebrate the children of Rome, and it was marked on December 25th, Juvenalia. They believed Mithra, the god of the sun, was born on that day too. At some time, Saturnalia, the god of agriculture, was also celebrated and in full swing. So everything was closed and great festivities were held. By the year, though, 312, the Emperor Constantine of Rome, who converted to Christianity, still celebrated Juvenalia, which was that day to honor the children. And Christian leaders, though, decided to also make it the time to honor Christ, Mass. By 1645, the Puritan leader Oliver Cromwell canceled Christmas and even outlawed it in the 13 original colonies in North America. But by the 1800s, Christmas took off a new leaf. During this time, Dickens wrote A Christmas Carol, Clement Moore wrote 'Twas the Night Before Christmas, and Thomas Nast, who was a German cartoonist, drew the icon Santa Claus that we know today. Most of the festivities in the U.S., especially as Germans and Irish came to America, came in and brought their traditions. Pope Julius I, in the year 337, he set December 25th as the day to celebrate Christmas, which was coincided with Saturnalia and Juvenalia. But historians do not know if that is exactly true. It was called, though, the Feast of the Nativity, and thus, with parties and gift-giving and feasts, one could see how Christmas began with humble beginnings of our Savior.
How did Christmas trees become associated with Christmas?
Probably one of the most recognized holiday icons is the Christmas tree. It is thought to have begun in 16th century Germany. Trees were decorated with wool, thread, straw, nuts, and wafers. First records of trees in the U.S. are recorded in 1820 in Pennsylvania in the German community. Artificial trees arrived in the 1930s when a toilet bowl brush company used the supplies they had to create a tree. But the green Christmas tree, obviously, was the one that embraced that warmer days were to come during the dark winter nights.
Who would ever know that a toilet bowl company would essentially invent the Christmas tree? Wow. Well, how are candles involved in Christmas?
Candles on a tree have been attributed to Martin Luther. He was the leader of the Protestant Reformation in the 1500s. He was inspired by the stars at night, and he wanted to create that look in his own home. So he put a candle on the tree.
Interesting. Well, what about candles in the windows?
Candles in the windows. By placing a candle in the window at Christmas tradition is believed to have originated in Ireland during the penal laws. When Irish Catholics were facing persecution, they would light a candle as a signal to the priest that their home was a safe haven to hold Mass there. A welcome beacon in the darkness. Today, it's a symbol of warmth and welcoming others during the holiday season.
Very interesting. Okay, why is red and green the Christmas colors?
What about those red and green colors? They're everywhere.
They are.
Right. Would you believe it started with the Celtics and also involves Coca-Cola.
Oh, wow.
And who made that decision? The colors were just associated with the winter solstice. Hundreds of years ago, the Celtics believed that the holly plants brought beauty and good fortune in the middle of winter. Thus, homes were decorated with those red and green plants as a way to have a prosperous new year. Over time, though, hanging up red and green decorations came about as well as a well-known tradition. Some Christians believe that the hues were symbolic of Jesus' crown, red berries his blood, and the spiky hollow leaves are said to be the crown of thorns that were placed on Jesus' head on the cross. And another reason red and green are such a major part is due to Coca-Cola. In 1931, the Cola Company hired an illustrator to bring Santa to life in the magazines. It showed Santa delivering presents and, of course, interacting with children. Santa was in red and white, and the words were in green, and thus it changed the way Americans imagine Santa and Christmas. It solidified in our imaginations red of Santa's robes, green fir trees, and the holly, and as a result, the shades of red and green were here for Christmas.
I never knew any of that. I mean, that's all news to me.
Yeah.
Why do people have wreaths on their doors?
Wreaths. Wreaths were a symbol of eternity, so they were round in that shape, that eternity, life goes on. Okay? Garland. They put the garland in their homes, and it represented hope and life during those winter months. So homes were always decked out. Like the song says, deck the halls.
I keep seeing these candy canes hanging on people's Christmas trees. What caused that?
That familiar candy cane, it was another staple of the season. A choir master in Germany gave sugar sticks to the children to keep them quiet. He then asked a candy maker to shape it in the form of a shepherd's hook, hence when the shepherds were guarding their flocks at night when Jesus was born. Peppermint then was added to the candy in 1950 and became the flavor that it is today. The color red symbolizes God's love and his stripes his suffering.
I think I know this next question, but why is there a star on top of the tree?
Well, the star was a symbol of the Star of Bethlehem, where Jesus was born, and it guided the three wise men to Jesus' birthplace. It's the reason, or the beacon, of hope, and can be traced back to the early 1600s in Germany. So they were placed atop your tree.
So did that represent Jesus' birth?
Right, or the nativity. Okay. We come to know as the nativity or the creche, and it's attributed to Saint Francis of Assisi, who created the first living nativity scene in 1223 in the Italian town of Greccio. He was inspired after visiting the Holy Land and Jesus' birthplace.
Cool. Why do we always see stockings always being displayed?
Legend has it that St. Nicholas wanted to help a poor farmer from having to sell his 3 daughters into servitude. So he supposedly threw a gold bar, remember he was a wealthy man, and it landed in a stocking that was hung in front of the fireplace to dry. Hence, why we hang stockings in our fireplace in hopes that we will get a gift, maybe
Wow.
gold.
Well, our stockings are not anywhere near big enough for that. But it's nice to know how that came about. Well, is that all you have to tell us today?
Well, probably the biggest U.S. icon and around the world is Santa Claus, which began with the man, a real live person, St. Nicholas. He was a bishop who was born in Asia Minor in the city of Myra in Turkey around 280. He loved children and he would give gifts. He provided for the sick and for the poor, and so he was made a saint. December 6th is the traditional day in Europe to exchange gifts and start the holiday season. The Dutch immigrants that brought the version of gift giving, and the St. Nicholas was known as Sinterklaas. But because Americans didn't get the pronunciation correct, he was called Santa Claus. And thus, he's our beloved St. Nick that we have today.
Wow, I did not know that either. Kathy, thank you so much for being with us today.
You're very welcome.
We really appreciate your knowledge, and it's just really nice having a retired teacher being our holiday expert.
My pleasure.
Okay, well, what will January's podcast be about? We will all find out next year. So Merry Christmas, and make 2025 what you want it to be. See you next year.
Bye.